Hey guys, it's Josh here, the no bullshit meditation guy who's teaching you what they didn't at school. Today we're going to be talking about how anxiety is not just in your head. Most people think that anxiety is a thought problem. They think that it's just about overthinking or negative self-talk or the self-criticism, judgment on yourself or worry about judgment from others. People tell themselves that I just need to calm down, I just need to relax, I just need to think more positively. And honestly, if that worked, you wouldn't be watching this video. Because the truth is, anxiety is not just in your head, it's a full body survival response. Your mind definitely has an impact, and I'm going to talk about that in this video, but ultimately you're having this full-on experience. It's like an emotional experience that you're having, and it's really stimulated by fear. Now, one thing you've got to understand about your anxiety is that your mind and your body are actually connected. Your brain and your body are connected through the nervous system. So when you have these fearful thoughts or these worrisome thoughts in your head, that will actually send electrochemical signals from the brain down to the body through your nervous system. And so if you're thinking these fearful thoughts, it's creating an experience in your body where you feel like something's wrong, you're in danger, and if you don't get that under control, it can start to create these stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. And when your body starts pumping with stress chemicals like cortisol and adrenaline, you're going to start to go into the fight or flight mode of the nervous system. That's why you start to, get these weird physical symptoms. You can start to have your color in your face change. Maybe you go red. Maybe you start sweating. You get the shortness of breath. You get that yuck feeling in your stomach. All of this is because your system is under stress, not just your brain, but your body as well. Now, from an evolutionary standpoint, that's actually normal. So let's say you're living out in nature and there's like a snake that comes past, right? Now, it would have been normal if you were in a community and there were kids around and stuff for you to go into a bit of a stress response if you see a snake. Because, maybe there's kids around or there's elderly people and that snake, if it bit them, that could be a real danger, a real threat. So when you see a snake, it's normal for you to actually have that anxiety response or that stress response. It's normal for you to go to fight or flight. It's normal for you to have the adrenaline pumping through because you've got to either get away from the snake or go and get the snake and move it, right? Or fight it or kill it or something, I don't know. But the point is, that would be a normal experience of fear and anxiety. However, in our modern day world, most people are operating with anxiety and there's no snakes around, right? Or maybe if you live in the city, there are some snakes, right? But it's a different kind of snake. And if you live in the city, you've got loud noises, you've got the stress of modern life, your career, you've got your finances, maybe you've got a family at home you've got to take care of. And so, then you've also got your phone, you've got your computer, you've got all this stress from the screens. And so all of that, which is not really a direct threat to your health, all of that can also create that same feeling of fear or anxiety, even when there's nothing really wrong around you. So we're having these heightened anxiety experiences even when our direct environment is actually pretty safe. But internally, we're running this story that it's not safe, that we're not safe. We have that thought in the brain and then again, it sends it to the body. So anxiety is not just in your head. You have to understand that it's in your body as well. And that danger that you're perceiving, that you're thinking is there, is actually not there. Really what it is, it's like old emotional patterns, subconscious belief systems, conditioning from childhood or sometime earlier in your life where you felt unsafe and then you've never been able to regulate yourself since then, which is why you've got this constant anxiety that's just built up over years. So your body reacts as if it's in danger and then your brain tries to make sense of that feeling. So it actually creates this anxiety loop where it starts off as a fearful thought or a worrisome thought or a nervous thought in your brain. It sends signals to the body responds and actually has a physiological change because, again, the brain sends the electrochemical signals. Those signals stimulate stress, and the body actually responds and goes into a stressed state. And then it sends this loop back up to the brain, which says, look, there's something wrong. And you've actually got evidence at this point that there is something wrong because you can feel it in your body. And this is actually where all the overthinking comes from, because your brain can't actually find a real threat. So instead it just creates one. It just creates some kind of an experience or some kind of an imaginary experience where you think that there's something wrong and really there's not. So that overthinking loop comes in when it's like, what's going on? There's something wrong. Why do I feel like this? What if something bad happens? And it's not because there's anything fundamentally wrong with your brain. It's because your body feels unsafe. So if I had to break it down really simply, anxiety is a body that feels unsafe and a brain that is confused about why it's feeling that way. And this then creates that loop that can go on for years or even decades. Now, for most people, they're not even conscious that this is happening. So they're not even really aware that this is happening. Instead, they just think, oh, I just have anxiety. I don't know why I have anxiety. There seems to be no reason why I have anxiety. And it's because they're not really consciously aware of their internal experience. They don't really understand what's going on below the surface. They're just seeing things at a surface level, and they're not actually really understanding what's going on under the surface. But let me just explain how you can tell if you're actually having anxiety without knowing it. You're going to be snapping at little things. You're going to be easily frustrated. You're going to be impatient. You're going to be really like ADHD style. You're not going to be able to focus or concentrate. You're going to have shallow breathing. You're going to have low energy levels. You're going to feel like you're wired, but at the same time feel very tired. You'll struggle to switch off at night, or you'll wake up in the morning with anxiety or with negative thoughts. There'll be that constant undertone of dread. If you experience those things, that is anxiety. Now, a lot of high achievers don't identify with anxiety, and they often miss the signs because they're just keeping busy, they just stay distracted, they just keep pushing through because that's how they've learned to survive. But if you're not careful, that can lead to real issues like relationship breakdowns, addictive behaviors, or even burnout. And that's because your body is bracing for a threat or some kind of an impact that isn't even real. And so your mood suffers, your patience suffers, your relationships suffer, your happiness suffers, and just generally your quality of life goes down. You're not living in a joyful, energetic, and enthusiastic way. You're not living with that vibrance or that zest for life. Instead, you're just surviving and you're just trying to make it through. I don't know about you, but that is not how I want to live my life. Now, here's the thing that most people get wrong with anxiety. You can't just think your way out of it. You can't just distract your way out of it, because if you try to do that, what's going to happen is you're going to end up just suppressing the feeling. And what you suppress just stays stuck in your body. It's kind of like you're packing a dynamite stick with gunpowder. At some stage, it's going to just need a small little flick and it will blow up. That's your emotional reactivity, and that's what happens when you suppress your emotions and you don't feel things. When you are trying to suppress things or resist your emotions, your anxiety, whatever it might be, you push it down, what you resist actually persists. And it's like packing that stick of dynamite. All it needs is a little bit of a trigger and boom, you just blow everything up. You end up going on a bender, you break up with your missus or your relationship, you have these problems, you end up trying to look for some kind of escape. This is why anxiety lingers for so many successful people. Because you're intelligent, you're smart, you're disciplined. But ultimately, you're trying to fix a problem that you think is in your mind when really it's in your body. Now, the good news is it's actually pretty simple to fix this issue. You can break this loop, not by forcing harder, not by working more, and not by distracting yourself, but by teaching your body to feel safe again. You need to understand that you have a brain and that you have a heart. You have the mind and you have the body. Most people with anxiety are really just living from the top up. They're just stuck in their head all the time. When you make that journey from your head down to your heart and you learn how to feel through the experiences that you're having, instead of like push them away or try to escape them, that's when everything changes. When you find that alignment between your brain and your heart, between your mind and your body, Overthinking slows down. Inner peace goes up. You start to feel calm, you start to feel clear, and you start to feel present. When you're present, anxiety can't grab onto you. That's because when you're present, you're actually slowing down the default mode network in your brain. Now, the default mode network is responsible for your rumination, your overthinking, and your constant self-referencing. When you become present, you slow that down and you actually create what I like to call a blank slate. The anxiety will dissolve. The physical symptoms will disappear. You'll feel grounded again. You'll feel in control again. And you'll feel like you again. This is how my clients shift their anxiety so quickly, within 3 to 6 months. It's because we're not just talking about the problem over and over again, we're actually addressing the source of the issue. We're not trying to therapy our way through it. We're not trying to take medication to escape it. We're actually going internally, creating this mind and heart alignment so we can actually feel inner peace. And when you do that consistently, you're really retraining your entire system. Now, you might be thinking this sounds too good to be true. If it was that easy, why couldn't everyone do it? And I'll tell you why. It's because it requires consistency. It requires discipline, and it requires you to be committed. Think about it. If you go to the gym to get a six-pack, you're not just going to go to the gym one day and just all of a sudden magically have a six-pack. It's the same for your brain. If you want to train your brain and train your system, your whole nervous system, back into a state of safety, it's kind of like training yourself to get a six-pack. You've got to follow a plan. You've got to be consistent. You've got to eat well. You've got to train. And if you're consistent with that over 3 months, or even 6 months, let's say, it's likely you're going to get a six-pack. It's the same thing with your anxiety. If you train your brain and you train your nervous system consistently over a period of time, you can easily just get yourself back into a positive and healthy state. I've helped hundreds of people do this. I've done it myself. If you want me to help you, there's a link below to check out my Mind Launch method. Go and grab that, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.